You know, ever since I started doing the Every Bit Counts challenge each and every August, a few years ago, August just flies by, right? I look at my list, look at all the items left on my list. I look at my month, look at all the days left in my month, and I'm going, oh, not a good matchup. I need to get busy. So I got busy this week. I have a lot to show you. Excited to have you here. Welcome to Grow and Preserve. I'm Carter, and I'm so glad you're here today. Let's go. We're going to jump right in with some more fermentation. So I'm going to do pickles again first, and I have to tell you, you're going to find out later in this show why I am so glad that I have been doing fermented pickles all along. So for a pickle brine, I use 6 tablespoons of salt for half a gallon of water. So it's a different ratio than most vegetables because it really helps to keep them crunchy. So I don't always do it, but when I don't do it, I tend to regret it. And it's an okay brine to use with other vegetables, particularly if you're going to strain the fermentation liquid out of those vegetables, like I'm going to do with these sugar rush peach peppers. But again, so I have 6 tablespoons of salt in that half gallon of water, and that is the brine I'm using for my pickles. Now let's move on to the sugar rush peach peppers. You may remember, oh my goodness, a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that, I had done some sugar rush peach hot sauce for my husband, and he absolutely loves it. So I am doing another couple of jars for that, and he's very excited about it. And that's probably how I will use the rest of my sugar rush peach peppers. He's really thrilled with it. And as I told you before, I'm really trying to stock up that shelf in the refrigerator so that he has plenty of hot sauce all year long. So once I get these all chopped up, I'm going to add the brine to them, and they will probably go, I think the last batch went a little over 14 days. So I'm aiming for about the same amount of time, and then we'll turn them into hot sauce as soon as they're done. Meanwhile, I'll keep an eye on them every day. I'll burp them as needed. Check for that calm yeast that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And these are really going to be terrific. He's very excited about them. All right, now it's time to get to some of these peppers. I've been picking for the past couple of days and saving up some of these in the fridge, and I did another big harvest this morning, and it's just time to take care of all of them because they'll last for a little while in the fridge if you package them up properly. But when I'm trying to preserve something, I really try to get to it as quickly as I can. So today is the day. So I'm going to get all of these washed up, and then I'm going to divide them on these towels behind me according to how I think I'm going to be using them. And you'll see I make a couple of changes as we go. But that first one, it'll be over my right shoulder, so left side of the screen. Those are the sweet peppers. And you'll see I am really struggling to get some sweet peppers, particularly peppers that have changed colors already in my garden. They're always the last thing to come in. And next year, I'm going to plant more of them, and I think I'm going to put them in the front. I have them in really kind of the back of the bed as far as the sun goes, and I think I'm going to put them in the front and then perhaps put some light shade cloth on them to protect the sun scald. But I think they need more sun to get going a little bit faster, because I know they'll always come last in the garden, but my goodness, they seem to really be taking forever. So I'm going to get started on the sweet peppers and some of my onions first. I have several onions that I need to preserve. In fact, I'd kind of like to go ahead and get all of them preserved, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And this is one of my favorite ways to do it because it's one of the most useful things for me, and that is to package these up into basically meal prep size packages and put them in the freezer. So I'm doing all my sweet peppers. Occasionally I'll put one hot pepper in here, but not today because I just don't have enough bulk in the sweet peppers. And then I'm going to slice the onions up too. And so I'll get these all mixed up so the colors are beautiful and well mixed. And then I'll put those on a tray and put them in the oven. Nope, I won't. I will put them in the freezer so that they can flash freeze for me before I go to package them up. That way, when I go to use them, they're not all stuck together in a clump. I could actually just break out a few if I wanted to, but the whole point of putting them in meal-sized portions is that I open it up and throw it at the pan. So I think this may be the first time you see my cool new lab glasses for cutting onions. You know, everybody talks about getting the goggles, and I've seen, you know, Chelsea wear the goggles. My thing is the suction part of the goggles under the eye just leaves these marks, and then I look like a raccoon. So anyway, I went for some lab glasses. So they have clear plastic underneath, and you know that touches my face, and then it goes all the way around. Here we go. And they work pretty well, probably not as well as goggles would, but they don't leave marks all over my face. So for now, I'm going with these. The next fermentation project I'm going to do is I'm going to do some red hot pepper sauce, and I'm going to do some green hot pepper sauce. So I'm going to make some new brine, and you'll notice I'm back to my standard brine now for this one, which is 4 tablespoons if I were doing a full half gallon, or 2 tablespoons of salt for a quart. And I'm using or adding about a quart of water to this, so I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of salt. And I'm going to pick out some orange and red peppers and just fill up a jar. And then I'm going to pick out some green peppers and fill up a jar. So I'll end up with a red sauce and a green sauce. Now, of course, you don't want to combine all of these into one sauce, or instead of red or green, you're going to get a brown sauce. So I am careful to keep them separate in this. And then I'm going to have all these beautiful colors in my fridge. I can't wait to take a picture at the end of preservation season and show you all the pretty colors of hot sauces and pepper mashes that we have in the fridge. That delights me more than anything. I don't really use them. They're too spicy for me. But David really likes them. I just kind of like to look at the pretty colors. So I'm going to use these garden salsa peppers, these dark green ones. I had intended those to be, and had heard that they were really good for salsa. However, they're really awkward to cut the way I normally cut my jalapenos for salsa. So I'm going to use them for this. I don't think I'm going to grow them again. They work fine for this. They make, you know, tiny, I don't know, tiny little rings. I don't really know how to describe it. But anyway, I think they're going to work fine for this. And then I'm going to use some hot banana peppers there that are on the green-yellow side to kind of keep my colors together, and add the brine. And then I'm going to get these fermenting. And these will probably go about 14 days as well. And once again, I will check them daily. As we talked about last week, when you ferment peppers, they seem to be a magnet for calm yeast. And once you see it, you're going to see it every day. So I have been going over these or opening these every day, and I don't have any yet, but I'm sure I will, especially if it's going to wait 14 days in fermentation stage. So I'll just be skimming it. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is finally get to some pickled banana peppers. So I'm going to make my brine here, which is just the standard brine that I use. It's 3-to-1 basically is what I use. I don't know what Ball does now that I think about it. I don't think they're quite as vinegary as I am, but I really like the vinegar flavor in these, and so I prefer the stronger brine. But anyway, I'm going to chop up all of these, again, going for all the pretty colors. So these are blazing banana peppers. These plants are so crazy prolific, and the peppers are so huge. I'll definitely be growing these again, but I won't be growing 3 again next year, because I've had more than I really know what to do with. So I think for the rest of these that come in, I'm going to let them wait on the vine until they are, dark yellow, orange, red, and they will turn into a pepper mash, or they'll turn into hot sauce. I don't think I need any more pickled peppers, but I just, I had them today and I thought, okay, we'll go ahead and get some done and out of the way. I also have a few smaller jalapenos that I didn't need for my other projects, so I'm going to go ahead and throw those in here. I don't necessarily like the jalapenos in a banana pepper pickled situation because they don't hold their color really well. But again, David likes the added heat. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in for that. Now the part I really enjoy is packing the jars. They're just so beautiful. I wish they could stay this beautiful after being canned, but they, all the peppers do lose some of their color, not just the jalapenos, but the jalapenos lose more of it. So I love packing the beautiful jars. I'm going to get them all packed in, and I'm going to pack them as tightly as I can because I don't want a lot of pepper float. If you're raw packing, you're going to get some shrinkage in the peppers, and they will tend to float. So a little bit of float, you can kind of shake off after they've sat for 24 hours. You can shake them and the jars will look just fine. They'll go back to being full. Today I'm going to add a little bit of seasoning to these, and I don't even remember exactly what I added here. I think I added a little bit of dill and some mustard just for something a little bit different. Usually I add garlic. Sometimes I add pickling spice, but we'll just do something a little different. So, keep David on his toes, right? And I actually had more peppers than I thought, so I've got to create another quick little batch of brine, let that heat up. And then I'm going to pop these in the steam canner. It's quick and easy in there. I just love the steam canner. If you haven't gotten a steam canner, it's something to think about. Maybe this year you're done, but think about it for next year. It uses so much less water. It is so easy to fill. It's just a couple of inches of water that you need, and then to empty. I'm not trying to lug my massive water bath canner over to the sink to dump it out, and that doesn't usually happen. If David's not around, I have to get a pitcher and empty it pitcherful by pitcherful because it's just too heavy to lug across the kitchen. But this steam canner is, I love it. I absolutely love it. Now, the one thing you can't really do with it is something that needs to process in a water bath canner for a long time. Like if I were doing my roasted tomatoes, onions, and garlic, and those are an hour and 20 minutes, you can't do that. You will run out of water long before you get to that point. Because remember, we're only starting with a couple of inches worth of water in the steam canner. But anything under 25 minutes or so, I feel really comfortable using the steam canner for. I haven't run out of water yet. So I tell you what, it's always my first choice. So now we're going to go back to jalapeno poppers. Yes, you've seen me do these the past couple of weeks. So I'm really not going to show you the process here. But I did want to just mention a couple of things. Number one, football season is nearly upon us. In fact, preseason has started. And in my house, there is nothing that will make my husband happier than a Saturday of college football, plenty of jalapeno poppers ready when he wants them, and some chicken wings ready to throw on the grill. He can be happy all day. I don't have to do anything else. He cooks his own chicken wings, and I could do whatever. It's really nice. So I am really putting a big emphasis in my house on stocking up these little jalapeno popper packages. And I find 5 is a really good number for him. Either we are having them kind of, appetizer, side dish, whatever with dinner, and he gets 3 or 4, and I end up with 1 or 2. And that's plenty for me because they are really spicy. But if he's just eating them as a snack, it's, he can stack up 3 games in a row. I think maybe even sometimes four games in a row on a Saturday, and he can sit there all day. So having 5 during, the 12 o'clock game, and then having his chicken wings during the 5 o'clock game, he's just happy as can be. So I really am trying to get prepared for that. So I'm also going to do a few of the hot banana peppers this way as well. I'm going to do the exact same way. I think last time I stuffed them with sausage, and that's good, but I thought I'd go ahead and do this too. I have a couple extra pieces of bacon because I had to get out a couple of packages anyway. So for those of you who haven't been here, I use goat cheese instead of cream cheese. And I think it works great. You want to get basically to room temperature so that it will spread in your jalapeno popper just like cream cheese. But anyway, I'm just going to fill these up and we will scoot on from there. On to the next day, we're going to wrap up yesterday's pepper projects. So my sliced peppers and onions are done flash freezing, so I'm going to get those into some vacuum seal bags here. These are pint-sized bags, and it holds pretty much the right amount for me if I'm making a meal, whether it's some kind of a stir fry, or it's eggs, or it's a hash with potatoes, or, you know, heck, whatever it is. This is about how much I need for a meal for the two of us. So I think I end up getting 4 or 5, and that's fine. Hopefully I'll be getting a lot more when my sweet peppers start coming in. And this is a vacuum sealer that I bought last year. Maybe it was the year before. I think it was last year. Anyway, I don't remember, but it is fantastic. I bought it with my own money. This is not sponsored. It's not terribly expensive. I bought it off Amazon. I'll put the link down below. I love it. It just goes and it goes and it goes and it goes. My old food savers, and I went through several, were always, you know, requiring their 10-minute break between things, and it just drove me nuts. So here's one other thing I want to talk to you about with the poppers here. It seems that my peppers are really growing. I have always done these in the same pint-sized bags, and I can usually fit banana peppers in there just fine. And I can usually fit 5 jalapeno poppers in there just fine. I could not get them in with enough space left to actually seal the bags. So I ended up having to go get some quart bags. This is the last quart bag I have of the kind that I like. Now I ordered a new batch, and I don't know why I didn't order the right kind. I really don't. I have no idea why I didn't order the right kind, but I didn't, and I don't like them. They feel much more like cellophane to me. So I'm going to link down below the pint-sized bags I like and the quart-sized bags I like, and I definitely will not link these quart-sized bags that I don't like. I may just have to bite the bullet and donate those. I don't know if they're too thin, or I don't know, something I just don't like about them. They don't feel substantial to me. So now I'm sitting here trying to figure out if all of these peppers, some of my jalapenos are just absolutely gigantic now, and I just can't fit 5 of them in one of these pint-sized bags, which I guess is a good thing. So here's this new package I'm opening. Ugh. I don't know if you can tell. You probably can't tell on the camera that they just feel different. Thinner, more like cellophane. Seems a waste to use a bag this large, right, for 5 jalapeno poppers, but that's all right. It's better than the bag not being able to seal properly because I didn't leave enough space. So today I ended up with, I think, 12 more bags of these to add to my stash. So you figure that's pretty much a football season right there if he's just watching college football. So now he does watch the occasional professional football. He'll watch the Browns, and I don't know, he'll watch a few others. So I got to make sure that I have now, and I should have pretty much enough to get us through the football season. So we'll see how many more I get done, but at least I don't have this massive push to keep getting enough. All right, let's get on to a fun project here. This is the pepper mash. I think we did it in week 2. Honestly, it's all kind of a blur at this point, but this was red and orange peppers, and I did a dry brine on this one, if you'll recall. There's a wet brine where you mix the salt in the water, and there's a dry brine where you just mix the salt with the peppers and churn it all up in the food processor. So this is the dry brine, so it's just salt and peppers. There's nothing else in here. So what you want to do is, 1, taste it, make sure that it has gotten to the right level of heat and or mellowness and the right level of kind of tang to it, because even though there's no vinegar in it, it definitely develops a tang to it. And then you want to check the pH to make sure that you're where you want to be. And so generally I go for you know, a 3, maybe a 3.5 pH. Let's say anywhere between 2.5 and 3.5. I feel really good about it lasting in the refrigerator for the better part of a year. So I'm going to test these for you. Now remember, the only thing in here is peppers and salt. So the peppers, the normal pH for peppers is, you know, kind of ranges somewhere around 5. So say anywhere from 4.6 to 5.6 is kind of where the typical pH is for peppers. So I'm going to test these for you, and you can see that my pH is down to 3. So the fermentation process has done its job, and these are good to go, and they will keep probably close to a full year in the refrigerator. David tried this for the first time, I think it was night before last. I did a stir fry with cauliflower, rice, and zucchini, neither of which is his favorite thing in the world. So let me tell you how much of this pepper mash he put on top of his cauliflower, rice, and zucchini. And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. So now I have found the trick to get him to eat zucchini. So I'm pretty excited. He's really looking forward to putting this on eggs and anything basically. A sandwich, putting it on meat with chicken and a taco. He just loves this kind of stuff. So I'm pretty pleased with it. So next up has nothing to do with preservation, but it's something I needed to get done today, and I just let the camera roll, so I thought I'd leave it in here. I am making some sprouts. Today, particularly, I'm doing kale sprouts and broccoli sprouts. They're some of our favorites, particularly some of David's favorites. He likes to eat a bunch of those for health reasons. So I put them on a salad, on sandwiches, on top of a quiche. I kind of make them their own salad sometimes. Super easy, super nutritious. I have a full video on growing sprouts that I will link up above if you would like to look more into it. I'm not going to give any kind of instructions here today. Just thought I'd show you that I do this on a regular basis. All right, next up is my sad story of the week. You're going to see here why I am so glad I have been fermenting pickles all along. I have this huge bowl of pickles here that I've collected over a couple of days, and I know you're supposed to do them right away, but I just didn't. So anyway, I'm stuffing them in the jars, and I'm going to ferment these. I'm going to use my cucumber brine for these, and I cut into one, and there was a pickle worm. Yuck. It's just, I've never had pickle worms before, ever, not ever. So anyway, I saw this, and now of course I am inspecting every single one. I do have a worm outside that got into my spaghetti squash as well, and come to find out in my research, pickle worms also will go after that. So I am checking and double checking and throwing out anything that looks suspect. If it has a hole in it, it goes away. I don't care to open it and make sure that there's a worm in there because I'm just so grossed out. I can't do it. So anyway, I'm going to slice all these open. I'm going to make sure everything is good. And I end up losing quite a few cucumbers to these pickle worms. So I have ordered some BT. It came actually late last night, so I'm going to be spraying it tonight on my plants after the sun goes down and the bees go to sleep, and hope for the best. But if I lose them, I lose them. I am not a big fan of cutting into things with worms in them. Even as a gardener, I just can't get used to that. So anyway, this may be my last round of fermented pickles. So I think this makes 7 or 8 jars or something I have. So that'll just have to be enough. If I lose the rest of my pickle crop, it'll be what it'll be. But anyway, that's my sad story for the week. So I'm going to label all of these and put them in a place where they don't get a whole lot of light. And I like to ferment pickles for 3 to 4 days. If they're all whole in a jar, they can go 4 days. If I have them like mixed, some sliced, some whole, or have them all cut into half, then 3 days is pretty much where I like them to be. They do get a little bit sour if you go any longer than that. Not that that's bad. You may really prefer, I think they call it like a full sour. So you may prefer them more sour. So I'm just double checking to make sure that everything is below the water line. I don't want any issues because I am out of weights. I need that last one for one other project I have going. All right, let's save some seeds. So this year I'm growing the National Pickling Cucumber. Gosh, all the years past I've grown the Boston Pickling Cucumber, and I have to say this one has been much more impressive in terms of the number of fruit and how quickly it comes on. So I did have one fruit that completely got away from me. Now I picked this probably pushing a couple of weeks ago, at least 10 days ago. Picked it when it was yellow, let it continue to ripen in the house. It is now bright orange, as you can see. Looks more like a pumpkin than a cucumber. But these seeds are perfect to harvest. So I'm going to get all of these scraped out, scrape them straight into a colander. These are going to be covered in cucumber flesh and in gel, and just not something you want to save because all that flesh and gel around the seeds will end up molding if you save it this way. So you need to get that to release from the seeds. So we're actually going to do kind of a light ferment on these. So I'm going to get them into the colander. I'm going to rinse them extremely well, get rid of as many of the chunks of cucumber as I can. And then we'll put them in this jar and add some water, swish it around. I will put it in a dark spot, and then I'm going to swish it every day. These are just going to need to ferment 2 or 3 days, so we'll get them done by the end of the video, and I'll show you how they turn out. So another item on the list of things I want to get accomplished during this month's Every Bit Counts challenge is to preserve my potatoes. In fact, I'd like to go ahead and preserve all of my potatoes because, as you probably know, we are keto now. David has actually now joined me on keto again. So we're not eating a lot of potatoes, but we will. Trust me, we will eat them over the course of the year, especially when they're in French fries. It's David's favorites. So I'm going to do these today. Now, this year I grew Kennebec, Elba, and Purple Viking. I have not grown any of these varieties before, which means that as far as I know, unless I bought them, from somebody at the farmer's market or the grocery store, I have not canned these varieties before. They're all white flesh varieties. I'm really curious to see how the purple-skinned Purple Viking ones do. They are white on the inside. So we'll see. Normally I would use russets for French fries, but we'll see how these go. So I'm going to get all of my French fries done today. So I tried to pick all of the potatoes that were kind of the right shape to make a perfect little French fry to fit in my wide mouth pint jars. Now I have a bunch more potatoes that I need to do, and I'll probably do those in some big chunks for some kind of roasted potatoes. But I have some jars coming that I have ordered from Azure that I will be picking up, I think it's next week. I don't know. Hopefully it's before the end of the challenge. And that's a better size for non-French fries for us, for some big chunks of potatoes. So I think I'm going to wait and do those when those jars come in. Meanwhile, I'm going to get some French fries on the shelf. Now I'm using a slightly different method than I have been using for years. And my potato method is a Rebel canning method and is certainly not for everyone. However, I will say that it has been something that a lot of folks have enjoyed, but I have had some questions about whether or not the citric acid in my old method is really necessary. And I thought, well, we're just going to find out. So I did find a recipe, or a method really, from Diane Devereaux, and she does not use citric acid in hers. And it is much less time consuming in terms of preparing the potatoes. So I'm going to do that this year, and I'm probably going to let them sit on the shelf for a while before I kind of give you a whole lot of feedback on them. One, because we're not eating a lot of potatoes right now, but two, because I want to see how they age. I want to see if they discolor more than mine have always discolored, with the citric acid, because I don't get a lot of discoloration with mine. So we're going to see how this goes. But anyway, you will see that this method is, well, you won't see how quick and easy it is because I have this like in warp speed piled up. But anyway, I'm pretty pleased with it so far. I am going to do the rest of my potatoes this way, but I don't know how they're going to hold up long term. So that's kind of my interim report at this point. But you will see it is a method where I do not add liquid into the jar. So again, it's not an approved method. It's not for everyone. I will link Diane's recipe down below, though, for anyone who wishes to go take a look at it. I'm going to tackle a couple other projects today that honestly I've been putting off a bit because I know they're going to be a little disappointing. So my garlic and onions have been down in the grow room and they have been curing. Both of the harvests were a little bit disappointing. My onions were not huge, and some of them got a little mushy from so much rain. Back, I don't know if, yeah, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it. I must have mentioned it because it was really kind of unusual how much rain we had in May and June. Big, huge storms. We lost, in fact, 2 different storms. We lost big branches on the big tree in our backyard. We had hail, we had all kinds of stuff going on, and it was at a time when the onions were just bulbing up, and it just didn't serve them very well. And then because we had so many days in the 80s before, in the 90s before that, the onions were just a little confused. So they thought they were on an accelerated schedule, which was really kind of before they should have been at that point. And then we got the crazy weather on top of it, and it didn't serve them well. So I didn't have a great onion year this year. I intend to have a great onion year next year, but I'm going to go ahead and get these all sorted. The ones that can wait to be used a little bit. I hesitate to even call them storage onions because I don't feel like any of these is really in perfect shape. But the ones I'm going to put in the bin here they're still totally hard. Their stem is completely dry. Everything looks good about them, but I do kind of know, their history, and I don't expect them to last forever. And then the ones I'm putting really in the tray, those are the ones that I can see we're starting to get a soft spot, or maybe it was still a little bit damp in the stem even after they've been sitting and curing for such a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and use those. I've been trying to pull the ones that I was worried about most and use them in projects or use them in meals, quite frankly. So many of these I'm probably going to end up just preserving in some method, whether it's freezing or freeze drying, or, hopefully plenty of them will last long enough to become the onions in my pepper and onion packs when the rest of my sweet onions come in. But anyway, I'm going to get them taken care of today and try to clean up this mess I have done in the grow room. You can see back over my left shoulder, the right side of the screen, that is some lettuce started on the left, and on the right, which you cannot see, will be all of my cruciferous veggies and spinach and a little more cilantro and that kind of stuff, getting ready for the garden to go out in the fall. And so I'm really excited about planting those, but I need to get this place cleaned up. So after sorting through the onions, I need to move on to, this is actually garlic and shallots. Now I have those Tennessee, no, they're called, not Tennessee, what are they called? Louisiana something shallots, evergreen shallots, I don't know. Anyway, I bought them from Lazy Dog Farm, Travis at Lazy Dog Farm, and I have loved them. Those things multiply like crazy. They do great in the garden, so I'm going to separate those out. I'm going to replant those as soon as we get out of the 90s for good. And then I'm going to take all my garlic and I am just going to put it in a bag and stick it in the refrigerator. Let it go ahead and get some chill hours going, because I think that also hindered me with the garlic last year. These bulbs they're just terrible, but I'm not going to spend a fortune on ordering more seed garlic this year. I'm just not going to do that. I spent a lot of money on seed garlic, or let's see, I had seed garlic from the previous year for my music, but I ordered elephant garlic, which was so darn expensive. So I'm just going to use all of this as my seed next year, and we're going to hope for the best. But I'm going to give it the best start I can by putting it in the refrigerator. That'll keep it at 38 degrees until it's time to go into the garden, which for me here is, late October. That's probably about the right time. That gives it a little chance to settle in, grow some roots, and get ready before we have some constant bad weather coming in. All right, we have one quick thing to finish up before we get to the fun flavored salt. And that is these seeds, these cucumber seeds that we have been fermenting the past couple of days. So this is the National Pickling Cucumber. I forget whether this is day 2 or day 3, but they seem to be floating freely without their gel right now. So I'm going to give them a really good rinse. May scrub them down a little bit with my hands just to make sure that there's nothing left on there. And then I'm going to lay them out on this paper plate with a piece of parchment on top. One thing, I have done the paper plate thing and it's fine, but when it comes time to store them, put them in a package, or maybe you just keep them on the paper plate until the following year, picking them off the paper plate, you can damage them, you can not be able to get them off at all. I don't know. So I'm going to put it on the parchment paper. I'm going to give them several days to dry. There is no reason in the world to rush the drying process. Make sure that they are just as dry as they can be before I then package them up and put them in my box for next year's planting. All right, one last project I'm going to work on, which is honestly more about fun than it is about preservation. Even though it looks like I'm about to do some preservation here, I am going to work on, maybe that's not even the right word. I'm going to play with some of my herbs from the garden and this garlic that I got from Costco that's already chopped garlic, and some flake salt that I have, and some tomato skins that I had dehydrated. And I'm just going to make a fun little kind of Italian flake salt for seasoning vegetables and chicken and fish and, whatever. And I think it'll be fun. There won't be a recipe. You're going to see the whole thing done, even though the herbs had to freeze dry overnight. I'll come back and finish this before the end of the video. I had a good time with it, and I love the taste of it. Now, you don't necessarily have to do salt with yours. You can just do an herb blend. I am doing salt because whenever I go on keto, I end up low on sodium and chloride. And so I just went to have my physical last week, and I was very low on both sodium and chloride. So I need to do a better job with that. I can do some electrolytes, but those sweet drinks I just can't do. So I need to make sure I can get my sodium and my chloride. So this is going to help me with that, I hope. So I'm going to use a really nice flake salt that I use really more than anything in baking. I love to put it on chocolate chip cookies. But I'm going to use it with this and make it kind of festive and fun. And I think it's going to be really pretty with all of the green herbs and with the tomato skins. Now, all of this can be done with a dehydrator. There's no need for the freeze dryer at all. My dehydrator is one of those little round Nesco things, and it just, I'd have to do 4 different batches probably to get all of this done at the same time. So I have here basil, oregano, some of that summer savory I was asking you guys about last week. I'm going to put that in here. I have sage, thyme, and rosemary. So those are my green herbs. Then I have the garlic. Then I have those tomato skins. And then I have the Malden flake salt. And I'm just playing with it. There are no measurements. I look like I'm measuring, but I'm just kind of guessing the whole thing through. Just looking to have a little fun and make something that tastes good and will be, I think, really terrific on vegetables. I really like the Costco what is it, the Costco no salt or whatever their seasoning is. And that's how this had all started. I thought, well, I need to make one of those with salt. But then I went and looked at the ingredients of those, and there's like 20 different ingredients that most of them I don't have. So I didn't want to go do that. So I just thought, well, I'll just play. I'll do something green and red, looks pretty, smells good, and it'll be perfect. So that's what I'm going to do this last project of the week. So I hope that you all have had a wonderful week. I hope you've had a good time preserving everything that's come in from whether it's the backyard or the farmer's market or the grocery store. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you have some yummy stuff on your shelf. So I will see you next week. Have a great week. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Bye-bye.